Hey there everyone, WebCamParrot here with an unscripted video. So in my last video I sort of hinted or directly said rather that bo-bobo is the strongest shonen character of all time, which I stand by. And so to kind of like prove that this is the case, or like really show this is the case, I'm going to be going through like a number of very popular shonen characters that people think are strong, they're very strong. And some characters like maybe you've never heard of as well, that people think are very strong, and I'm going to explain why bo-bobo beats them. If you haven't watched my video where I go over like all the bo-bobo scaling, some of this might be confusing for you. See, if you're confused or you want to see like the proof for some of these abilities, then you'll be able to see that there. And obviously, like, since this is unscripted, I'm not going to be like delving deep into like all the scans for these other characters. So okay, I got some pictures here in a folder, and we're gonna go through them. So number one, Goku, right? Obvious one. Goku, I think, is definitely slower than bo-bobo, and I mean bo-bobo has like some clear immeasurable speed feats. I don't think Goku has anything like that. I know that some people like to make arguments, but they're not good. I think at best Goku maybe has infinite speed, probably just MFTL plus, right? Like quadrillions the times the speed of light at best, something like that. I do think that Goku is multiversal, and so maybe an interesting discussion is sort of like, can an early bo-bobo who only has universal AP beat Goku, and what can Goku do to bo-bobo? Now obviously bo-bobo has great regen. He can regen from having his entire body, mind and soul erased, so Goku can't just attack him to defeat him, he'll just keep coming back, and Hakai, which manga Goku knows, also won't be able to defeat him. I mean, he'll erase his like body, mind, and soul, and then bo-bobo will just come back, no problem. Goku can also use the Mafuba, although he's in the anime at least, although he's bad at it, and kind of messed it up like on times when he has tried to use it. But let's say that he did succeed. Well, it doesn't matter. Bo-bobo has resisted sealing from Shigeki X before. He's resisted a type of sealing from Harley Kalani instead of Harley Kalani's board game world. So yeah, that's not going to work. And of course, you know, bo-bobo has Power Null, which I can't think of a single instance of Goku resisting Power Null, but even if he did, bo-bobo's Power Null works on people that resist Power Null. So he would need a stronger resistance than normal. So I think it's pretty unambiguous that bo-bobo beats Goku. And stronger versions of bo-bobo have got a way better AP as well. I mean, I made some 5D, 6D, and outer-versal arguments in that video. So yeah, no problem whatsoever. Next is Saitama. Now, I'm not sort of one of those people. I used to have a Saitama video up where I explained that I didn't even think that he was star level, which some people like to argue, but unfortunately I got a copyright struck, so I had to take it down. But no, I don't think Saitama has like this weird plot hacks where he just beats anybody. I don't think that he has instant kill attacks on everybody. But even if you do, even if you think that this is a thing, that he has plot hacks to insta-kill anyone, firstly, bo-bobo has tons of plot hacks, loads and loads of plot hacks, and it's way better than anything Saitama has, right? Bo-bobo can change the story and cause himself to win, just like people think that Saitama can. Bo-bobo actually does it several times. And he can change Saitama's backstory so that he was never the strongest and stuff like this. And there are also tons of insta-kill attacks in bo-bobo. I think as early as Chapter 8, Don Patch uses an insta-kill attack on bo-bobo, and it doesn't work. And bo-bobo has his own insta-kill attack as well. Other than this, you know, Saitama is like planetary, certainly FTL. He's not going to be able to take on like even an early bo-bobo who's like this universal immeasurable speed character. And again, bo-bobo's Power Null, he has like a passive aura of Power Null that Saitama doesn't resist. He's going to lose. Next up, we got Giorno, with Ger, of course, with Ger, who people think is really strong for some reason. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with Giorno and Ger, Ger has the power to reset things to 0. Personally, I think this resetting to 0 is pretty limited, but some people think that, like, you know, he can use it on other people's strength, like he can reduce their power to 0 and things like that. The only things we really saw him reduce to 0 was somebody's willpower, so mind hacks, and he also was able to kill somebody and then loop their death over and over so that they like died infinite times, which is not usually that useful. But even though I think he can't reduce anything to 0. So firstly, the mind tax isn't working on Bobobo. He has a great mind tax resistance. And he can actually fight without a mind, which he's done plenty of times. So obviously his mind isn't important to fighting. And Bobobo used an ability that multiplied his power by 0. So he literally had 0 power against Nunchaku, and then he killed Nunchaku anyway, which is like the hard counter to Giorno's ability, right? Even if Giorno resets Bobobo's power to 0, Bobobo can still kill, you know, multiversal 5D characters, you know, with his attacks. So he's easily going to kill Ger and Giorno, who are like building level. The other thing is that stands are like these strange, maybe spiritual, maybe conceptual even things, but Bobobo can hurt spiritual and conceptual things. He has conceptual attacks that he used against Giga. He has soul-based attacks, which he also used against Giga. He can interact with spirits and transmute them into dolls and stuff like that. So he could just defeat Ger. Because one of the problems with Ger is that it's possible that Giorno might die, and then Ger could bring Giorno back to life, right? But if Ger is dead, he can't bring himself back to life. So that's that. There's no way. Bobobo, again, also his power null. Giorno doesn't resist power null. That would be it. Right. Excellent. We're doing good. Next up is Gojo. So Gojo's from JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm not super familiar with Jujutsu Kaisen, so I apologize if I get some of this wrong. Hopefully, I explain this adequately and you guys are happy. So Gojo has a pretty interesting ability called Infinite or Limitless. It's part of his Limitless abilities, where the space between you and him effectively becomes infinite when it comes to your attacks. But Gojo can like launch attacks and doesn't care about this. So if you can't cover infinite distance, if you don't have infinite speed, basically, then you can never reach him and attack him. So this is a really interesting ability, but unfortunately Bobobo has immeasurable speed. So he can move so fast he goes back in time. This infinite distance thing is going to be no problem. He can just run straight up to Gojo, punch his head off. But even if you don't think that he can do that, maybe you think this infinite ability is a lot better than I'm giving it credit for. Well, Bobobo has plenty of attacks that don't have to reach the target to work on them. He has Hajike plot-based attacks where, for instance, he might just do like a skit, like he'll turn into a flower and it will like damage you. He'll tell a sad story and you'll cough up blood, right? So he doesn't actually have to attack you in order to hurt you. And he has other abilities like a Ganeme, where he throws sunglasses into his own memories, and then the person that he has the memories about take the damage, which you can't dodge because Bobobo is attacking his memories and not you. So that would also bypass this infinite distance thing. There's tons of other stuff too. Again, as always, like, you know, this power null, Bobobo's power null. In Bobobo world, all of your abilities are nullified. Which, to be fair, Gojo has a similar thing. So in Jujutsu Kaisen, there's this thing called domain expansion, where they put you in like this zone. It's like about the size of a town. I think some of them can be quite big. A lot bigger than that even. But not compared to the Bobobo worlds, which are infinite, but you know. And inside Gojo's world, basically you're fed so much information that your mind can't handle it, and you very quickly die as a result of this. Now, obviously, Bobobo doesn't need his mind to fight, so I don't think this is going to do anything to him. But even so, it's a very, very common thing. So in these domain expansions, you're also powerless. But Bobobo resists this type of effect. For instance, in Harley Kalani's case, Harley Kalani made a board game called Death Money Board Game, where there were specific rules and you had to follow the game. And one of the rules was that you couldn't attack Harley Kalani. And you were basically powerless. And Bobobo summoned Yugimoto, overpowered Death Money Board Game, and turned it into Funny Board Game. And then he changed all the rules and made the rules like rules that he decided, where like instead of rolling a dice, he just like ran you over with a bulldozer and like pushed you along, and then pushed you into areas on the board where like pigs would attack you and loads of crazy stuff like that. So Gojo could use his domain expansion, and Bobobo's just going to take it over and make it his own. And then Gojo is really going to be screwed, right? Of course, like Bobobo has much better AP too. I don't think Gojo has like universal AP or anything like that. Maybe he has some like town level stuff or better, but yeah, doesn't matter. He definitely gets hacked out, and he has no way of killing Bobobo. I mean, Bobobo has resurrection. He's got great regeneration. Gojo just doesn't have any way of attacking him. Yeah. Next up is Yuha. So this is a terrible matchup for Yuha, unfortunately. So again, for those of you that don't know, Yuha has precognition, so he can see the future, and he can see alternate futures. And one of his powers is that if something he's doing right now, or what's going on right now, he doesn't like, he can shift to a different future. He can shift everybody to a different future that he prefers. And basically, like, as a type of fate tax. And he can also nullify abilities that he sees and understands. Which is probably only limited to the abilities in Bleach, but, you know, let's, for the sake of this video, say he can, like, nullify anything he can understand. Well, bo-bobo heavily resists precognition. People that can see the future, that can predict what anyone is going to do, can't predict what bo-bobo is going to do. And bo-bobo has his own precognition that's even better than that. So what's going to happen is that Yuha is going to see all these futures, and he's not going to be able to tell what bo-bobo is doing in them. There was this thing at the end of Bleach, there was an arrow that Yuha couldn't see, and basically because he couldn't see it, it defeated him. And bo-bobo is like a living version of that arrow. Like, Yuha won't be able to see anything that bo-bobo is going to do. He won't be able to understand any of his abilities. He won't be able to see, like, bo-bobo doing stuff in alternate futures. He'll just see futures where he doesn't know what's going to happen, and then he loses the bo-bobo in them. The other thing is that bo-bobo also resists fate hacks anyway. Like, he's able to change predestined futures in the first place. Like, for instance, with against Bebe, it's a law decreed by the Hair Gods that Hair Kingdom brothers, like the older brother, can't be defeated by the younger brother. And yet bo-bobo defeated 2 of his older brothers anyway. So he's able to overcome, like, the Hair God's fate manipulation and put his own, like, fate, make his own fate, like, guaranteed, which would work against Yuha. He would just be fated to lose. Bo-bobo also, like, so Yuha has power null, but bo-bobo has his own power null again. And Yuha has an interesting type of immortality, because, you know, if he's going to die, he just goes to a future where he's not going to die. But again, he won't be able to tell which futures he's not going to die in, because he can't tell what bo-bobo is going to do, just like he couldn't predict the arrow. But even then, being able to, like, bring yourself back to life like this is something that bo-bobo can counter. He can kill people with resurrection. He can kill people that can regenerate from being their mind, body, and soul being erased, like he did against Baldy Ball III, who had a hairball. He absorbed from BBB. He killed. Yeah, pretty easy for him. And also, bo-bobo has time travel, so he can go back in time and defeat Yuha before he had the Almighty, so that he never gets it. And he has mind hacks in the form of Ganeme. So if Yuha is mind taxed, then there's something he can do about that, right? He can't choose to go to, like, a new reality. He can't control what he's doing. So that would be just game over for him. All right, Marda. So Marda is a somewhat interesting one. He has really potent mind hacks in the form of, like, the Infinite Tsukiyomi. I mean, I'm including Jubidara here. Why not? We'll use the strongest version, which should be Jubidara. So the Infinite Tsukiyomi basically is a type of mind hacks that puts you in, like, a completely believable world. Like, you have no idea that you're in it. Obviously, the first problem with this is that what is a believable world for bo-bobo? I don't think Marda knows what that is. I don't think the Tsukiyomi could create that for bo-bobo. Bo-bobo's life is completely insane and breaks all the rules all the time. But bo-bobo resists, like, an extreme level of mind hacks anyway. So I think in Naruto, there's probably generously, like, 6 levels of mind hacks. You know, Infinite Tsukiyomi is better than Rinnegan Genjutsu, which is better than Tsukiyomi, which is better than regular Sharingan Genjutsu, which is better than like basic Genjutsu, you know, right? So that's like 5 levels, I guess. But bo-bobo, even Donpachi resists like 6 levels of mind hacks, and then bo-bobo has like 8 more on top of that with Ganeme. Again, like I explained that in the video. So there's no way Marda is like using Genjutsu on him. That's not going to happen. The other possible way Marda might be able to win, because again, like bo-bobo definitely has universal AP, or up to outversal AP. It's pretty hard to argue that Marda has something like that. So what are some other hacks Marda might have to win? Well, Truth-Seeking Orbs, which can erase the body and the soul. Bo-bobo resists erasure, and even when he is erased, he can regenerate and come back. So, unfortunately not. The other thing is that even if the mind hacks worked on Bobobo, like the Infinite Tsukiyomi, Bobobo has this weird ability called instinctive precognition, where he prepares for fights that he doesn't know he's going to have yet. So he basically always gets prep. It's just the way that it ends up working. I know that sounds weird, but he always gets prep time because he's preparing for battles even when he doesn't know about them. And even when he doesn't know that he's preparing for the battle that he's going to have. Like, he still is prepared for it. So there would be traps everywhere, and all of these traps would one-shot Marda. The Sharingan precognition isn't going to work on him. Like, Sharingan is good at telling what people are going to do next. That doesn't work on Bobobo. And people who have the 10 tails in their body can only be hurt by senjutsu techniques, right? Which is like natural energy techniques. But Bobobo can hurt people with conceptual attacks. He can attack their soul directly, you know. He can kill people even that can resist conceptual attacks. There's no way he's not going to be able to bypass this. And even if you think this nature energy, like senjutsu power, is for some reason important, Bobobo has drawn power from nature for his attacks before. He drew power from all the animals suffering from global warming for one of his attacks, which would definitely like qualify as senjutsu. So, yeah. Unfortunately, no chance for Marda to win. Next up is a relatively obscure character, Ajimu from Madaka Box. Ajimu tells us that she has like quadrillions of powers. Like, obviously I can't go over all of those. And there are some pages like this that you can see where it has like all her powers listed in the background, and a lot of those, like, we don't really know what they do. There's just like a brief description of them. So I've really tried to narrow it down to the powers that matter. I have seen some outerversal arguments for Ajimu. The argument basically is there's an ability she has in one of these backgrounds called Husky Voice Dimension that's sometimes translated to say something like Surpass Dimension Skill, but sometimes it could say Cross Dimension Skill as well. But I think Bobobo, the arguments for outerversal Bobobo are much better. Ajimu never uses this technique once, so it's not really clear what it does or that she uses it in character, so I don't think that it matters. So let's talk about like her real abilities that she actually actively uses. So she has a power that she got from someone else called Bookmaker that basically reduces your power to the level of like a really weak person. So you're like maybe not a normal human, but you become really weak. This is just power null that Bobobo resists. And she has another power called Life Zero that negates all of your powers. So more power null, again, doesn't work on Bobobo. Bobobo has his own passive power null that's better. She used to have another ability that was stated to reverse causality called 100 Gauntlets. But reversing causality is like a normal thing that Hajikalists do, and Bobobo's a Hajikalist, so somebody will use a technique, and it will seem to have done something effective, and then Bobobo will like change the backstory of that technique to where like it didn't do what you think that it would do. So yeah, that's a pretty normal thing that Hajikalists do often. Ajimu also has precognition. She's supposed to know everything that's going to happen in the future. Again, this doesn't work on Bobobo. People that can see the future, like a Giga, can't tell what he's going to do. People like BBB that can see the future don't know what Bobobo is going to do. So yeah, that's pretty rough. Ajimu does have some interesting regeneration and resurrection stuff, but Bobobo can kill people that can survive conceptual attacks, like people with hairballs. Bobobo World would also power null Ajimu. I don't think she resists power null, and Bobobo World worked on Torpedo Girl, who resists power null, thanks to her being an idiot killer, which is like an anti-Hajike power, and still power nulled her. She even broke out of Bobobo World, and then she still had the Bobo-chan mark on her that power nulled her. So yeah, that's one easy way of killing her. Bobobo can transmute people. He can turn them into dolls or ice cream, so he could just turn her into a doll and that would be it. And of course the Ganeme mind hacks is like extremely powerful, and I don't think that Ajimu has any way of dealing with it. Alright, next, Hades from Saint Seiya. I'm pretty sure that's Hades at the back. Haven't read Saint Seiya in a long time, so hopefully I give good, tell me if I get something wrong here, but I'm pretty sure I know what I'm talking about. So Hades has this aura of death hacks that not only kills you if you go near him, but it also erases the mind, body, and soul. And it even works on people that can come back from having their mind, body, and soul erased. But Bobobo can regenerate thanks to his hairball, which is neither of the mind, body, or soul, and he can even regenerate when his concept is erased. So, yeah, that's not going to work on him. And also, erasing Bobobo's mind, like, literally makes him more powerful, so that would also really suck for Hades. Hades is a conceptual being that can survive even without a body or a soul. So this sort of erasure I just talked about is something that gods have been able to come back from in Saint Seiya. But Bobobo has conceptual attacks anyway. So he could just attack Hades' conceptual being and kill him. Another thing Hades has is like when he stabs you with his sword, it basically BFRs you to a void that's outside of the cycle of reincarnation. So firstly, Bobobo would probably take over this void, just like he did with Harley Kalani's board game world, and just make the rules his own rules, and then he can come back like pretty easily. Like he's come back from worlds all the time. He literally creates his own worlds and returns immediately. And again, Bobobo could transmute Hades. He could also just kill him with conceptual attacks. Yeah, he could power null him. Again, classic power null seems to just work on everybody on this list, really. So I don't think like this BFR, like sending him to like a void outside of the cycle of reincarnation is going to really do anything to Bobobo. He's come back from stuff like that before as well. He's been like killed and erased and came back anyway. All right, next up is Akasha from Toriko. I couldn't find like a good big image. This is actually a picture of Neo. But Neo Akasha is a more powerful version than Akasha 8 Neo. So they're basically the final antagonist of Toriko. I actually did a video on them. And I went back to watch the video after, 2 years or whatever. Cringed a little bit. I like the poor editing and stuff. And I wasn't as good a speaker back then. But yeah, I think Akasha is like a really powerful, one of the most powerful shonen characters, definitely. And there are two big reasons for this. There's something in Toriko called the ultimate routine, which is basically where you convince yourself like so much through, they say it's like the placebo effect. You convince yourself enough that something will happen, like your attack will kill this person or hurt this person, and so it does. And that's like a type of fate hacks. And they also have food luck, which is better than this. And food luck basically means that attacks that should hit you, or in instances where you should miss, it consumes some of your food luck, and then protects you from the attack, like they miss, or you actually hit if you're going to miss. So fate manipulation again. But, as I already talked about, Bobobo has his own fate manipulation on this level, and unlike food luck, it doesn't run out. Bobobo also has plot hacks that's pretty similar to this, that should be much better. There's lots of people in Bobobo with plot hacks from the very beginning, and like Bobobo continuously surpasses them, like Donpatch at one point was like had incomprehensible HUD-GK power compared to Bobobo, which is like plot hacks. And then Rice is stronger than both Donpatch and Bobobo together. Rice powers himself up, and then Bobobo beats Rice anyway. And then like we see Rice later, and he's like really weak compared to Bobobo. So and this happens all the time. There's lots of fights where things like this happen. So food luck, unfortunately, is not going to be good enough. Akasha and Neo can both erase souls and bodies. And I actually think that the souls in Toriko are arguably out-versal, because the realm of souls is stated to be a place beyond the concepts of space and time quite a few times, and that souls there are like relevant to the size of that realm. So if like souls were like threatening to destroy that realm, basically. So I don't think that they have physical AP on that level. I think the physical AP is like at most universal plus, but they might have out-versal soul hack. Obviously, like I think Bobobo is out-versal anyway, but also Bobobo's soul was destroyed against Harley Kalani, and it didn't affect him at all. Like he really didn't care. So Neo and Akasha can eat Bobobo's soul and erase it. Doesn't matter. It's not going to do anything. Akasha has his own regen that's really great, or Neo does at the very least. Even when gourmet spirits have their soul erased, which happens when they're eaten, eventually like they still come back. So that's really, really good, since all they are is a soul. So they don't even have a physical body, really. But of course, like Bobobo, as I've spoken about several times already, has lots of things that will work on people with that kind of regen. Alright, and the last one, the final boss, Sailor Moon. Surprisingly OP. Surprisingly OP. There's a pretty good out-of-versal statement in Sailor Moon as well. And there may even be like scaling on top of that, because I think Bobobo's like infinitely stronger than baseline out-of-versal, but Sailor Moon could be in that range as well. Unfortunately, again, like Bobobo's regen is so good that we got to figure out some way Sailor Moon might be able to win. So she can seal people in the Silver Crystal, but Bobobo resists Shigeki X's sealing. So, and that's basically the same thing. So that's not going to work. Sailor Moon can also return to life from the Silver Crystal, and even when the Silver Crystal was destroyed, she came back. But I don't think she's ever come back from being conceptually destroyed, and Bobobo can kill people that can come back from being conceptually destroyed anyway, like hairball users. So he can definitely kill Sailor Moon. There's some other ways for Sailor Moon to maybe beat him. Well, Sailor Moon can attack the physical, spiritual, and mental planes simultaneously, but that's not going to work, because Bobobo has had those three things completely annihilated and has been fine. I do think that Sailor Moon is probably the only character on this list that can actually handle Bobobo's power null. There's a lot of power null in Sailor Moon, and Sailor Moon has like resisted it many, many times. So I don't think that Bobobo could take her to Bobobo World, for instance, and remove her powers. But ultimately, like, Bobobo's just going to kill her with his actual attacks. He's just going to beat her up until she's conceptually gone. And then that's it. There's no coming back from that. So I'm not sure how convincing this video is. Hopefully it was fun, but, you know, we went through a lot of really strong shonen characters. Obviously, there's so many shonen characters I couldn't possibly go over all of them. Maybe there are some characters you wanted to see, like Beerus, but I don't think that Beerus is like meaningfully different from Goku, really. There is that one scene where he like resists Arare's gag powers, but Bobobo's gag powers work on people that resist gag powers, like Torpedo Girl. So that doesn't matter. Maybe there are like, maybe you wanted to see Hagoromo or stuff like that, but hopefully you can see like why none of those characters really stand up to Bobobo's hacks, which is just like crazy, crazy good. In any case, I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.